doing this on the spur of the moment, just because I think this would make for this makes for an interesting live cast, even though I gave no warning that I was going to be going live. So probably there aren't that many people that are going to show up for it, and that's okay. But I wanted to go live with this just because this is a spur of the moment thing. I wanted to look at the self-immolator's manifesto, if you want to call it that. I don't know. It's not exactly a manifesto. It's sort of it's a declaration of what he believes, what he thinks of things, where he thinks things stand in our society right now. I was inspired to do this by Morgoth's latest video, which is entitled something like "How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Normie." I think that's what it's called, where he considers this manifesto, the things that are asserted here, but he does it in a more sort of broad sort of way. Whereas I'm just going to go word for word. I thought it'd be interesting, potentially intriguing, to just look at the exact wording of this this document. And by the way, here's what's so cool about Substack. Here's what I like about Substack. One of the things that I like. Here's one of the things that I like about Substack. Drop my phone. It's still up. His whole page his whole thing is still up on Substack. I think other social media probably would have taken it down, because it would be like, oh, he committed suicide and suicide's bad, blah, blah, blah. So we can't support this. But Substack left it up. So good for them. And you can see his whole, check out his whole Substack page. There are several other articles on it prior to this one. This, of course, was the last one. That was the one that he wrote before setting himself on fire. And the title is, "I Have Set Myself on Fire Outside the Trump Trial." That's kind of an interesting title in itself, because he hadn't done it yet, but he knew he was going to do it. Like, it always kind of, like, how do you get into that mindset where you not only decide to end your life, but you know you're going to end your life. You know how you're going to do it. Like, if he'd posted this and then chickened out, he'd be a laughingstock. So this is, and this is also to echo what Morgoth said about this guy. His name was Max Azzarello. Max Azzarello, good Italian name. The observation that Morgoth made about him is he obviously believes in what he's saying. If he didn't believe it, he wouldn't have set himself on fire. So maybe he's crazy. Maybe he's off base. That's not saying that he's right, but it is saying he's a true believer, in his own words. If he was just a grifter, I've really gotten to hate that word. It's one of many words that I've grown to hate. Just because the kind of people who get called grifters, usually it's people who do things that get themselves canceled. Like, hell, if I'm a grifter, I'm the world's worst grifter. Anyone who calls me a grifter hasn't seen my bank account, I can tell you that. So, but this guy's obviously not grifting because he's not around anymore to cash in. Uh, he's a true believer. And this article was written on, or was published on April 19th. That's probably the day of his self-immolation, or it might be the day before. I'm not sure. Probably is the same day. He probably published this just right before he did it. So let's look at it. Let's just go through this thing. And if anyone's there, I see a few people are out there. If anybody has comments or questions, I'm gonna go through all this spiel first, and maybe at some point, maybe in a half an hour, if I'm not through the whole thing yet, I'll stop and look to see if there's any questions or if y'all have any observations. I don't like to interrupt my flow during a live cast by saying, hi, blah, blah, hi, blah, blah. It always annoys me when live casters do that. I'm going to just say my piece, and then I'll either get through it in a half hour, or if I'm not through it in a half hour, I'll take a break and see if there are questions or comments at that point. So he writes, my name is Max Azzarello, and I am an investigative researcher who has set himself on fire outside of the Trump trial in Manhattan. This extreme act of protest is to draw attention to an urgent and important discovery. This is all in bold, we are victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government, along with many of their allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. Okay, this is called, the thing is called the ponzipapers.substack.com. You can find his stuff there. All of his stuff. This is just the last thing that he published there before self-immolating. So he goes on. Okay, let me just because I want to really parse this. We are the victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government is about to hit us, and many of their allies is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. Some people, in our audience are afraid of the word fascist, or don't like the way he uses the word fascist, because some of y'all like fascism, or maybe are even self-avowed fascists. I don't know. But we have to read these things with the with the mindset of the person who wrote them, and this guy means fascist in a bad way, obviously. These claims, he goes on to say, these claims sound like fantastical conspiracy theory, but they are not. They are proof of conspiracy. If you investigate this mountain of research, you will prove them too. If you learn a great deal about Ponzi schemes, you will discover that our life is a lie. That could mean a lot of things. Maybe he'll elaborate on that further. Because like the fact that the government is lying to us doesn't mean our life is a lie. Unless like we're in the Matrix or something like that. Maybe he's going to claim that. If you follow this story and the links below, you will discover the rotten truth of, quote, post-truth America. You will learn the scariest and stupidest story in world history. Kind of funny, the scariest and stupidest story in world history. And you will realize that we are all in a desperate state of emergency that requires your action. To my friends and family, witnesses and first responders, I deeply apologize for inflicting this pain upon you, but I assure you it is a drop in the bucket compared to what our government intends to inflict. Again, very, it strikes me as pretty incredible that he's so sure what he's going to do, and And he went and did it. And he apologized in advance. Because these words are true, this is an act of revolution. Okay. Then there's a little break. And he goes on. Last March, a billionaire named Peter Thiel started a bank run on Silicon Valley Bank. I knew enough about Thiel that I found this incredibly suspicious. Sorry, that bank run, on Silicon Valley Bank. I knew enough about Thiel that I found this incredibly suspicious. My hunch was that this was intentional, though I couldn't fathom why. So this was last March. I guess by that he means March of 2023. I began investigating online and quickly found cryptocurrency's fingerprints all over it. The bank run occurred just days after Silvergate Bank, which catered almost exclusively to crypto companies, collapsed. Meanwhile, several crypto cheerleaders were all over the financial media warning of a regional banking crisis, and nobody in media was addressing the clear crypto connections. Boy, guys, when it comes to crypto stuff, I am just a dumbass. I am retarded. Basically, when it comes to financial stuff, economic stuff, I don't really know if I have very much to say about. I don't know what I'll have to say about all this stuff. I know that there was lots of weird stuff going on within the cryptocurrency world, and there was that guy who that young guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, who looked like was going to get away with massive fraud, and then I think they convicted him, but probably not to the sentence that he deserved. So he goes on. I dug deep into the financials of Thiel's venture capital firm, Founders Fund, and eventually uncovered the following, all proven many times over. First bullet point, cryptocurrency is our first planetary multi-trillion-dollar Ponzi scheme. It was expressly created for this purpose by a laundry list of rich and powerful people out of Stanford, Silicon Valley, and Harvard, Facebook. That strikes me as plausible. I mean, I know these are power centers. The ones he mentions, Stanford, Silicon Valley, Harvard, Facebook. I know those are power centers, and I know a lot of those people are up to no damn good. So the idea that they would be going for a massive global multi-trillion-dollar Ponzi scheme, I can believe that. That doesn't seem too outrageous of a claim. Second bullet point, the March 2023 bank failures were all international. I'm sorry, the 2023 bank failures were all intentional. The banks were used to move out stolen Ponzi money. This signals they're no longer dumping cash in to keep the cryptocurrency Ponzi afloat. That will soon go insolvent, as all Ponzi's must. Third bullet point. When the Ponzi scheme goes insolvent, it will take down half the stock market with it. The perpetrators used their major companies to pipe into the blockchain so they could funnel money from the crypto exchanges. This includes Google, Tesla, Apple, PayPal, Facebook, Disney, Walmart, Target, InBev, Zoom, and countless others. So all of these tech giants and creators of online brands, they're all in on it together. You know, some people would say that sounds outrageous. Doesn't sound outrageous to me at all. I think that sounds eminently plausible. Okay. Another bullet point. It is a Ponzi scheme so large that it created global inflation, which is why the price of Bitcoin has been a remarkable leading indicator for inflation rates. Victims who bought crypto don't realize their money has already been stolen, so the money gets double counted by the victims and the criminals who stole it. This guy, again, this Max Azzarello, sounds like he's a finance guy. Sounds like he knows, or at least he's it's a point of interest for him, and it's just not one for me. And I'm not good at it. I don't know anything about it. But again, hardly sounds implausible to me. Bullet point. As it turns out, our elites are awash in Ponzi schemes. Stanford StartX.com investment fund and Jeffrey Epstein's program for evolutionary dynamics he ran at Harvard are both fake science Ponzi factories that these schools have invested billions in. They are filled with fraudulent companies that use smoke and mirrors to promise miraculous new technology, but always collapse while the perpetrators only get richer. Okay. Again, sounds very, very plausible. And, Jeffrey Epstein having a connection to Harvard, yes, he did. He did. He contributed money to Harvard. There were lots of connections there, and to MIT. So he wasn't just a sex criminal. He wasn't just a pervert. He wasn't just a pedo. He was also, in on lots of financial fraud, and was friends with lots of high-placed people from both major political parties. This is not a partisan thing. Bullet point. Funneling trillions of dollars in stolen cash through the stock market created the largest stock market anomaly in history. The stock chart signature of a Ponzi scheme is a massive increase while they stack up cash, and then a massive fall as they funnel out the stolen cash. This chart shape appeared in all the companies listed above. In order to explain the massive anomaly, our criminal government unleashed COVID on the world and told us these were the stay-at-home stocks. Yeah, again, this isn't sounding like the rantings of a crazy person. Oh, what a nut. This all sounds like, very, very believable to me. But I'm interested in what anybody else has to say, if anybody else has anything to say about it. And again, you can read this yourself. theponzipapers.substack.com. Okay, break. Ponzi schemes are vicious beasts, and cryptocurrency is history's largest Ponzi by orders of magnitude. It could best be described as an economic doomsday device intentionally made to shatter the world economy. The U.S. government is fully involved in this totalitarian con. To illustrate its bipartisan support, I'll note that nearly every participant in the Clinton Global Initiative has ties to cryptocurrency, while two of the biggest tech VCs who participated are Trump associates Josh Kushner and Anthony Scaramucci. All right. To better understand our form of government, I will point you to the most astonishing pieces of standalone evidence I found. Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton's 1988 DNC speech where he nominated Mike Dukakis for president against George H.W. Bush. The speech is a vile, mean-spirited roast of Dukakis that makes no sense whatsoever. For Clinton to ruthlessly attack a member of his own party should have been political suicide, and he repeatedly mocks Dukakis' noble and earnest qualities. I went and watched that speech. There's a link to it here. I remember it. I remember people were saying, he's going on and on. When Clinton wasn't really known, he was just the governor of Arkansas at the time. And he gave the introduction to Dukakis, who was the Democrat nominee that year. And he went on and on and on and on. I don't know, what I saw of it. It was like, I don't know if it was a vile, mean-spirited roast of Dukakis. But I do remember, or it is something where the crowd really got impatient with Clinton. Like, he was going on and on about Dukakis being good at this, good at that. And maybe this guy's right. Maybe he's seeing something that I didn't see. Maybe he was, all of this praise was really sarcastic. Dukakis was kind of he was not the slickest of people, and Bill Clinton was the slickest. So yeah, I could see him engaging in backstabbing. But he it's an interesting speech to watch because the crowd just gets more and more irritated with Bill Clinton, and they're saying, "We want Mike. We want Mike." They start chanting that over and over again, like Mike Dukakis. We want to hear from Dukakis. Stop, enough with this hayseed governor from Arkansas. We want to hear the presidential candidate talk. But Clinton, unfazed, just kept talking and kept talking and kept talking. It's a weird speech. And maybe Clinton was just being self-aggrandizing, but maybe he was really, maybe he was really doing something vile and mean-spirited, and stabbing his own party's candidate in the back for his own gain. Could easily see Bill Clinton doing something like that. All right, he goes on. Notably, actor Rob Lowe, who was supporting Dukakis, was a victim of a teen sex blackmail operation at the DNC that year. I remember that. Since we know Clinton is a close associate with teen sex blackmail artist Jeffrey Epstein, interesting, he says, we know Clinton is a close associate of Epstein, even though Epstein supposedly is dead. Maybe he thinks Epstein never died. We can suddenly make perfect sense of this nonsensical speech by applying this lens. Bill Clinton is a cocky mob boss who blackmailed Mike Dukakis because Dukakis thought his job was to help the public. He teases out the future public revelation that Kitty Dukakis drank rubbing alcohol and offers a strange anecdote about the crack epidemic that reveals he is an exceedingly proud drug runner. Ooh, I've got to check that out. If Clinton actually dropped hints about these kinds of things in the speech, I missed it. I missed that. So yeah. And I remember when Rob Lowe, who at the time was this young hot actor, he was one of the Brat Pack. He'd been in St. Elmo's Fire and a bunch of other movies about good-looking young people. And yeah, he was he was caught with an underage girl at the Democrat convention, and had offered her cocaine. It was all pretty sleazy stuff. Yeah, so I don't know how that all exactly ties in with the rest of it, but I guess he's what this guy is saying here. I should just remember his name. Azzarello. What Azzarello is saying here is just drawing attention to the sleaziness of the system. He goes on, what does this revelation tell us? That our government is conning us completely. That Bill Clinton was secretly on former CIA Director George H.W. Bush's side, and that the Democrat versus Republican division has been entirely manufactured ever since. Clinton is with Bush, Gore is with Bush, Trump is with Hillary, and so on. Yeah. That's sort of, as far as all these conspiracies go, the stuff about the Clintons running a cocaine operation out of Mena, Arkansas, with the connivance of the Bush presidency at the time. That's kind of one of the more well-known ones. Uh, okay, yeah. He goes on, when they present themselves in public, they are acting as characters that are against one another, practicing kayfabe, as wrestlers do. I don't know if it's kayfabe or kayfabe, but I looked it up, and that's this basically practice that, of wrestlers, professional wrestlers, rehearsing and the fakery of professional wrestling, which everybody knows about today. I think there was some time when that was actually controversial, but now everybody knows it. Um, and there is an interesting quote from Jesse Ventura, who was a professional wrestler and who became governor of Minnesota for a time, where he says it's just politics is just like professional wrestling. That these people, Republicans and Democrats, pretend to be enemies when the camera's on, and then when the camera's off, they all go out to dinner together. Um, Sheep happened again. All right. Since it is fully parasitic, a secret kleptocracy is an incredibly unstable form of government. Left to its own devices, it can only lead to fascism or failed state. Yeah. So when did the kleptocracy start? So that maybe he has another article about this. I mean, if it is unstable and will only lead to these dire outcomes, one wonders when he would have said that it all started with was it with the establishment of the Federal Reserve, as a lot of people say. Was it going off the gold standard? Anyway, as I said, I'm a economic dummy, but these are things that even someone like me knows a little bit about. Goes on after a break. One of the key findings of this research is that Harvard University is one of the largest organized crime fronts in history, which is how they churn out billionaires. It's a major hub of this sprawling criminal network. Believable, plausible, I think. Again, no proof. Do I have proof? No. Does he offer proof? Not exactly. Maybe he has other anecdotal evidence that he's talking about, or that he gives elsewhere on his site. But it sounds plausible to me. I don't think these people are. I don't like or trust these people. Oh, okay. It's plausible to me. I don't trust these people. As it turns out, dozens of the writers of The Simpsons went to Harvard. So I asked myself the question, if The Simpsons served the interest of organized crime, how would it do so? I think he'll go more into The Simpsons in a little bit. Well, it offers a dysfunctional family suffering from moral decay, a community incapable of solving its problems, a worker drone who slaves away for an evil billionaire, and cathartic laughs for our poor collective circumstances. All right, I mean, this guy had a way with words. I like it. There are some notable specifics as it relates to this research, too. In Marge versus the Monorail, this is a Simpsons episode, and he links to it. The townsfolk are too oafish and divided to invest in the town's needs, fix Main Street, and fall for the charms of a dazzling showman with a bogus monorail Ponzi scheme. When we know that the show is closely linked to an organization that invests billions of dollars in Ponzi factories, this becomes quite damning. Well, well, I don't know how I feel about this. Because an episode of The Simpsons depicted this con artist taking taking advantage of the townsfolk. Therefore, this is, and because the writers came out of there's a big Harvard connection with the writers um, of the Simpsons, with many of the writers of the Simpsons. Therefore, it follows that this show is like a revelation of the method sort of deal. I don't know. I don't know if it follows. I don't think it quite follows. One could just as easily say, this is. I mean, there's lots of entertainment that is satire and that depicts con artists conning people, and that I don't think all of that should be seen as like, um, you know, duper's delight. But that's the connection that he's making here. Azzarello, this writer, the self-immolator. In Lisa the Iconoclast, Lisa discovers that town founder Jebediah Springfield was a secret criminal con artist, and the townsfolk's lives are a lie. Realizing there's again the thing about our lives are a lie, which he said earlier. Realizing this is an important discovery, she desperately tries to get the townsfolk to listen to her, but they meet her with hostility, apathy, disbelief, and partisanship, and she fails to get through to them. Ultimately, she realizes the town is so far gone that perhaps it's better for them to be lied to by con artists. She keeps the secret to herself. All right, she gives this as further evidence. This is like a little harder for me to. One has to not only think that the Simpsons writers are, bad people connected to the bad elites, but that also these episodes of the show are somehow efforts to, like, why do they want to tell the public? Is it just another revelation of the method? He doesn't use the phrase revelation of the method, but I don't know. It's like, there's lots of stories have been told about con artists conning people, like I've already said. So I don't know if I not necessarily follow here. I see some of you have made comments. Like I said, I'm going to wait until I get through this, or till I get through a little bit more of it, and then I'll get to your questions or comments. He goes on, and here I've been, like Lisa Simpson, desperately trying to get friends, family, and the public to believe the proof of totalitarian con I'm trying to show them, and they've turned away with hostility, apathy, disbelief, and partisanship. So he's frustrated. He's tried to wake people up, and they don't want any part of it. So he relates to Lisa from that episode, except that Lisa just decided, well, maybe they're better off not knowing. And this guy's saying, no, I'm not gonna. This guy's not gonna make. He's still gonna be a town crier. Like, he's decided, I haven't gotten their attention yet, so I'm gonna self-immolate. Because there's all this shit going on people really need to know about, and maybe this will make them take notice. And so we realize the criminal truth of The Simpsons. Our elites are telling us that our eroding collective circumstances are our own fault, and that we can't do anything about it while they steal the American dream from us. It is, for lack of a more elegant word, brainwashing. Again, I like this guy's writing. So here he is saying, he doesn't use the phrase revelation of the method, but yeah, our elites are telling us this is our own fault. And a lot in The Simpsons, I'm not an expert. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've watched The Simpsons, but I used to watch it with some frequency back. It's incredible to me that it's still on. incredible to me they're still making new episodes of it. But I remember back in the 90s and the aughts, I would still watch it sometimes. And yeah, there were a lot of episodes where the common people are depicted as rubes and idiots, and that's definitely a through line there. Um, and that so the whole thing is that it's our own fault. Just like they tell us not only tell us that global warming is real, which I think I tend to doubt, but they tell us it's our fault. It's not the big corporation's fault. It's our fault. And we can only make up for it by living in uh, 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 living in little uh, tiny houses and never traveling anywhere, leaving no carbon footprint. Instead of saying, well, these big corporations are to blame and they need to pay the bill for it. They need to do. It's up to them. It's not up to the average working stiff. Um, but again, I tend to think global warming is just not even real. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. All right, moving on. Maybe I should just let me take a minute, since it is about I've been talking for a little over half an hour. Let me take a look at your comments. Judas Fly, Chai, Sup. Not much. Question for Nowiki. When you were in high school, if a classmate said to you, Nowiki, there's a C in Nowiki. It's Nowicki. Your face makes the girls feel so icky, so sicky. How would you react? If a classmate said that to me, I would break down and cry, and then I would go get an AK-47. No, I'm just kidding. That's not funny. I shouldn't joke like that. That's really not funny. That's just not funny. Would you respond Jesus-like? No, probably not. Doug Garrison says, "Hey Andy," fist bump. Me says, "You're muffled." I'm sorry. Yeah, there was a little moment there. I had the phone in a position that I found out. I thought it occurred to me was probably muffling the sound. And these goings down says, "Did you read the review I did for the Rule of Wrath?" No, but I'm looking forward to reading it. I enjoyed the book and I can't wait for the sequel. I hope you won't be disappointed that there's not going to be. I don't know what kind of sequel can that book have. I mean, it's pretty much the end, and they live happily ever after. Like, I don't know where it can go from there. That's like the Book of Revelation having a sequel. No, shoot, it keeps happening. Okay. But I will read your review. I assume it's on Amazon. I don't know if you're still there. These goings down, but if you are, tell me where I can find that review, and I will read it as soon as I'm finished with this live cast. So he goes on. Lastly, we string these major discoveries together. Cryptocurrency is an economic doomsday device. Our government is a secret kleptocracy. The Simpsons exist to brainwash us. Interesting fixation on the Simpsons out of all show, like that seems to be an object of fascination for this guy. And I know lots of people have said Simpsons are no, Stephen, breaking in for a second. I didn't skip your comment on purpose. I didn't see your comment, so please repeat it. and I'll respond to it. And I just scrolled back up. I don't see an earlier comment made by you. So so strange that he sort of is fixated on the Simpsons, but of course it is a huge uh, um, IP, like they say these days. It's a franchise that's been around forever, and a lot of people have pointed out that it has interesting that it seems to have predicted certain events, like it predicted the Trump presidency, like about 15, 16 years before it happened. Um, all right, moving on. Consider America since 1988. Institutions like healthcare and universities have become parasitic in their skyrocketing prices, no doubt. News media tells us to be angry and tribalized. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. There's a whole lot of you know, attempts to turn people against each other, to make people hate each other, to make blacks hate whites, to make women hate men, and so forth. Daytime television warns us of moral decay. Uh, okay. Um, Daytime television? Who does he mean by that? And if they warn us of moral decay, then I mean they should, because there is moral decay. So I don't quite get that. Local news tell us to fear our neighbors, right? But that's probably like local news is probably sensationalism, that they have stories about, like lurid stories and stuff. But I think it's mostly of a if it bleeds, it leads kind of thing, more than a we've got to propagandize these, we've got to make these people, we've got to divide the masses. I tend to be less cynical about local television. I mean, I'm cynical about it in the sense that I think it's sensationalistic and sleazy and lurid, but not that they're out to. I mean, I don't think the Mockingbird media do they really bother with local news? They probably do in some cases. Probably more in like the larger affiliate stations, probably New York and Los Angeles and other places. They probably have some uh, play some role there. And I do believe that the media is owned and operated by that big media is owned and operated by the elites. Um, so, okay, to go on, The Simpsons tells us we're too oafish and divided to save the American dream. Seinfeld tells us to celebrate the assholes and be irritated by all the normal people around us. Really, is Seinfeld in on it? Is Jerry Seinfeld uh like is he pushing this? Jerry Seinfeld seems like just an entirely self-interested party to me. Um, Now he is famous. He is a media personality. So, he probably has done some terrible things. I can believe that, but as far as being in on this propaganda effort to push this Ponzi scheme, I think that seems far-fetched. Reality TV tells us that real life is filled with hedonism and strife. Okay. Um, Again, reality TV just seems like a way to try to get, it's like capital, like, ooh, drama, real life drama. Okay. Liberals mock the hypocrisy of conservatives. Conservatives mock the hypocrisy of liberals, and our collective circumstances erode. I think it's good to mock hypocrisy. So, is he saying we should be quiet about hypocrisies when they are uh, when they are manifest. That doesn't. I don't get what he's going for there. Ugh. My hand's going numb. Okay. The left shouts all cops are bastards, which ensures they'll be hated by the police and the public, and flies in the face of leftist theory. Does it? Okay, I guess. Does it? Would be interested to know what he means by that. I kind of think ACAB. Don't tell anybody, but I kind of believe that too. And I'm not of the left. The public's distrust of the government is at an all-time high, but so is the belief that we are helpless to do anything about it. Yes, there's definitely learned helplessness being promoted. And there's definitely, cynicism, not just cynicism like oh, they're all slimy bastards, because that's largely true. But cynicism, like, you can't change anything. You can't change the system. If you try to change anything, it's a futile uh, task. So you might as well just give up. And goes on. And with all this, a sharp rise in apocalyptic messaging. Climate change will kill us all. COVID will kill us all. Vaccines will kill us all. AI will kill us all. No matter the bubbles we ascribe to, we're bombarded with existential crises with no solutions. I tire of this stuff. I tire of the apocalyptic rhetoric. I tire of I'm with him there. I do think the vax is not good. I don't think it's going to kill us all, but I don't think it's good. And I think this COVID was a scam. There is like an effort to try. I think we're like collectively exhausted with all of the outrage porn that there is out there. But on the other hand, I think there's also really powerful people who have very nefarious plans for the world. So there's a need to have a certain amount of outrage. And this guy, the writer of this piece, wants us to be outraged, and he's saying the government's about to institute this fascist totalitarian world coup. So it's a little strange that he's decrying alarmism while being alarmist in his own way. He could his alarmism might be founded, might be right, but it's sort of strange for him to decry the alarmism of others. I guess he's saying their alarmism is over things that aren't really alarming. We've seen a surge in apocalyptic film, literature, and video games that tell us there's no way out of our poor circumstances but total societal breakdown. That is true. I think some of that's probably just a reflection of where the collective mindset is, what the zeitgeist is now, and probably some of it is intent, like the Leaving the World Behind Netflix movie that was produced by Obama. I think that was a definite effort to fan the flames of all this, all this this shit, to make us, live in fear, to encourage learned helplessness. You can go to my review of Leave the World Behind, and here are the details there if you're interested. Okay. Zombies tell us that the public is our enemy. If you go to the nearest convenience store, you can buy a can of water called Liquid Death. I've seen Liquid Death in gas stations, and I'm like, who would drink something like this? You're gonna drink this?
I mean, I guess it's like, oh wow, it's really hardcore. And like, is the idea it's an energy drink? It's like water, but it's so loaded with caffeine that it'll, just make you be awake for months. Like, why would you drink something called liquid death? It is pretty funny. But this guy, Azzarello, does not seem amused. Um, this is our rotten farce. For our entire lives, we've been flooded with media designed to slowly steer us into a world where the American dream was dead, where the public was fully divided against itself, where everybody believed we were powerless to do anything about our worsening circumstances. Um, yeah, I have to say that's true. Um, I've been alive for more than half a century, and I've seen a steady progression. I'm telling you, the culture was not like this in the 80s and even and into the 90s. The culture was not like this, even into the aughts. Even post 9/11, uh, things didn't hadn't gotten this out there, this crazy, this like just saturated with uh, with despair and saturated with division and rancor as it's gotten now. Um, and he goes on to say, it is also they can organize an unprecedented apocalyptic rug pull on the entire populace as they pivot to fascism. There's another pivot, use of the word pivot, which I talked about the other day, which is perhaps best understood as kleptocracy at the barrel of a gun. Okay, the people out there who are fascists, that's not your definition of fascism. We have to understand, we have to read this uh, with his definition of fascism in mind. For him, fascism is not a good thing, and he's defining it here as kleptocracy at the barrel of a gun. Um, when we piece it all together, we understand the truth. We are in a totalitarian doomsday cult. All bold. Sort of just recapitulating what he said before. Why on earth would our elites do this? There are many reasons, but the simplest is because capitalism is unsustainable and they know it. And they knew it. Climate change and resource extraction would catch up eventually. So he believes in climate change, formerly global warming. Um, Maybe he's right. I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe. So they never intended to sustain it. They knew all along they would gobble up all the wealth they could and then yank the rug out from under us so they could pivot to a hellish fascist dystopia. All right, so that seems to be the essence of what he's saying here. You can't trust any of the elites of either party. They're all in it together. And I don't think he would say that anybody, uh, who's in politics in any way, but he's talking about the power centers, the really powerful people in politics, in media, in entertainment, what have you. That they're in it together. They know what's going on, and they're about to orchestrate. They're about to pivot to the situation where they're going to rob us blind and leave us with nothing, and uh, and uh, and institute a fascist dystopia. So after another break, he's almost done here. Things escalated wildly in 1998 when former CIA Director George H.W. Bush got the White House, but this plan had been in action long prior. Yeah, George H.W. Bush was he was. I've heard enough about him to think he was not a good guy. Um, why is Stanley Kubrick's comedy about mutually assured destruction called Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb? because he was a cocky secret fascist who is getting us to stop worrying and love the bomb. I don't know about that. Why did he make Clockwork Orange? So he'd rejoice at ultra-violence designed to desensitize us to the horrors of the world. Or he might have made Dr. Strangelove as a satire. You know, and he might have made A Clockwork Orange to warn us about what the future might hold if certain trends, continue. I don't know why we should just think that if a filmmaker or an author or whoever or TV show maker has certain plots that he to the stories that he puts out there, that means that he's trying to get us to I don't think somebody actually watches Dr. Strangelove is going to stop worrying and love the bomb. If you watch that movie, I mean, it's funny, but it's also, really, really alarming. You're not going to come out of that movie thinking, yeah, the bomb's all right. It ends in a total nuclear war. It ends with the entire world being destroyed in a nuclear holocaust. Why is that? How is that getting us to stop worrying and love the bomb? I think he's off base here. Same with A Clockwork Orange. Of course, that's based on a book by Anthony Burgess, but I digress. Why were the Manson family murders crawling with cover-ups and intelligence agents? Good point. I've talked about this myself. I read the book. It was last summer. I was reading. Shoot, I can't remember the name of it right now. The book about the Manson case and the fact that Manson was probably a resource, an agent, an asset. That's the word I'm trying to think of. There's lots of evidence that Manson was an asset to the powers that be. Because our government wanted to make us fear for our lives and believe that hippies are deranged psychopaths. Okay. I mean, I think there's the possibility of there being some orchestration with Manson stuff. I definitely don't think that the story they've put out there, the official story, I think it's got lots of holes in it. Why did Walt Disney produce a fraudulent documentary that told us lemmings follow each other off cliffs so we would believe it? That's interesting that happened. But so we would believe it? Well, I mean, okay, so I guess I understand what he's saying here. So we would believe it, meaning Azzarello, I think, is saying, I'm not going to scroll up right now to confirm, is saying that a through line in a lot of this entertainment is telling us that people are just stupid dupes, and lemmings will follow a leader off the cliff. So they want us to believe that the people are stupid and will be and easily conned, and they want us to just have contempt for our fellow man. Okay, I can sort of see that. And why would Walt Disney have made this documentary about lemmings doing this if that's not true about lemmings? Maybe Walt Disney thought it was true. Maybe he was promoting something that was believed to be true, but actually wasn't. Or maybe he knew it wasn't true. There's no way to know. Why did the Beatles tell us to fear the taxman, to scoff at revolution, chase nonsense conspiracy theories, and that happiness is a warm gun, so we would believe it. All right. Why did the Beatles tell us to fear the tax man? I think the song Tax Man, written by George Harrison, is a great song, and I think it's, I think what it promotes isn't fear. It promotes it's like it's showing the abuse of power. Let me tell you how it will be: 1 for you, 19 for me. 5% appear too should 5% appear too small. Be thankful I don't take it all. I mean, you can't tell me that song is on the side of the tax man. It's like fear the tax man. I don't think that's the case. To scoff at revolution, well, I mean that song about you say I want a revolution. Um, he's saying, I mean that seems to be saying, don't be duped, don't be this Maoist dupe, just believe in, that things can change. It's an optimistic song, you know. Chase nonsense conspiracy theory, I guess, like about Paul being dead and whatever, and that happiness is a warm gun, so we would believe it. I think that's kind of weak there. Why did Easy Rider tell us the hippie movement was dead so we would believe it? I've never seen Easy Rider, but I don't know. That this also seems weak. Why did and also this guy seems to think the hippies were good. Um, I've kind of mellowed on the hippies a little bit. I used to just hate them. Now I think there was some good to them, to the extent that they were truly countercultural. There was some good to them, but they were probably also largely controlled opposition. And a lot of the hippie leaders were definitely controlled opposition, like the turn on dropout guy. I can't think of his name right now, but you know it. And Ken Kesey. They were both. They both seem to glow pretty brightly if you look at them, if you study them. Why did Chinatown end with defeatism in the face of massive corruption so we would believe it? Okay. Or it just might have been. Yeah, I mean, Chinatown is a bleak movie with a bleak ending. And Roman Polanski was a sleaze, no doubt. But I don't know. I don't know if it's part of this grand design, as he's saying here. Why did George Orwell tell us of a hellish future of totalitarian control that we are powerless to stop? So we would believe it. So wait a minute. George Orwell was in on it? George Orwell? He's saying that 1984 was a psyop, and that instead of being a warning about, where things are headed, that it's actually telling us, or getting people to feel powerless. I mean, I don't know. I think everything I've read, everything I've heard about George Orwell suggests to me that he was a genuine man of conscience. It might be that everything I've read is false, but I mean, that could be true of everybody, of anybody. I mean, so that's not really a card to play, I don't think. I'm more apt to believe Aldous Huxley, the author of Brave New World, because he was definitely an elite figure, and that might have been more like an esoteric, like seeming to warn us about this future while actually saying, "Hey, this is just what's coming," because I know I'm part of the elite, and this is what we're trying to bring about. So he goes on. Why did Wall Street tell us that greed is good, so we would believe it? Not really, because the point of that movie is that Gordon Gekko is evil. He's a bad guy, and it ends with him getting his comeuppance. So yeah, not really. Why to do the right thing tell us we're all racially tribalized so we would believe it. Okay. Same objection as I've had to other things that he said about movies and stuff, popular popular culture, um, shows and movies and music. Why did the Simpsons creator Matt Groening make a comic strip called Life in Hell so we would believe it? And on and on and on. When it comes to any popular media, if you ask yourself the question, why would secret doomsday cult kleptocrats want the public to consume this? You will find your answers. All right. There's a thin line sometimes between, and it's going to sound like I'm being glib here, but I'm not. I'm honestly not. There's a thin line between astute analysis, astute cultural analysis, and paranoid schizophrenia. Because, and I'm not saying that to be glib. I'm not saying that to be mocking. I think just if you look for, well, the reason I'm saying it here is that when you watch movies or listen to music or watch TV shows and you just think, here's what they're trying, you already got in your mind, here's what they're trying to do. Well, then that's what you will see. That's going to be what that's the meaning or the message you'll take from it. No matter what, you're not really listening or watching with an open mind. You said, oh, I know they're out to get us, and here's another example of how they're out to get us. It seems kind of that this aspect of his argument seems kind of weak. This is obviously very bad news. Really, this is almost over here. This is the last little bit. This is obviously very bad news, but the biggest lie we've been told is that we are powerless. Okay, I think that's right. I think he's right. They try to convince us they're powerless, and we are not. We've got one way. We don't have power. It's not voting that gives us power, though. But we are not powerless. We've got one way out of hell world, and that's for the public to realize that we've been conned completely so we can build a united movement that shatters every lie they've told us, mocks this rotten farce as loudly as it deserves, and aims at nothing short of abolishing our criminal government so we can build one that serves the public. All right, I'm kind of with him there. Don't really have a problem with any of that. To understand this story is to see right through the con, to become immune to the endless sea of criminal propaganda, and to feel the great joy and power that comes with freedom. If a small number of people quickly put on these truth-colored glasses, we are in for an unimaginably bright future. If not, we get an apocalypse. Okay. For more information, I put together this booklet. Okay. Oh, wow, he's got a whole booklet. I haven't even looked at that yet. That includes other major findings and a map to a sea of proof along with other essays on this site. I'm picturing him as the guy, with the sticky board, with the yarn, drawing connections from here to here, like the the conspiracy, the sort of depiction of the conspiracy guy as like somebody who's just going out of his mind, which is kind of an insulting depiction, but also there's some truth to it sometimes. And I say that as a conspiracy guy myself. For the true history of America since the end of World War II, see here. All right, there's also a link there. I encourage everybody to look this stuff up, to investigate it if you're interested. Again, it's the ponzipapers.substack.com. That's where you can find this stuff. To see this discovery unfold in real time, along with further explanations, hundreds of pieces of evidence are not covered here. Advice, inspiration, political theory, and the heart and soul of a man escaping history's largest doomsday cult. See my Instagram story highlights. Oh, that makes me curious about what his story is. So he's saying he was once a part of it, and he got out of it. That's interesting. I'm interested to know more. I apologize for leaving things so scattered, but this has been an exhausting affair. As long as you understand this true ideology, you will be able to learn the whole story. Here is a federal lawsuit I filed against dozens of perpetrators of a cryptocurrency Ponzi, not for litigation, but just to preserve the information and attach my name to it. Okay, so he's got the receipts. You got to respect that. I was terrified and hadn't slept for days, and it shows. But it served its purpose of keeping myself alive long enough to keep learning and telling the story. Again, just the sort of, some people might take this guy less seriously by when you hear, I was terrified and hadn't slept for days, and it shows. But I mean, if he really is if you uncover uh, bad stuff happening in high places amongst powerful people, you're going to be terrified, and you're probably not going to get much sleep. So it's one of those things where, people say, "Oh, he's just acting. He's just all paranoid." Just because you're paranoid, ... doesn't mean they're not out to get you. I no longer have my original research files from the crypto rabbit hole. If you want to see them, you'll have to get my laptop back from the government. Ask them how they got it. It's a very fun story. That's interesting. I hope you know how powerful you are. I wish you a hell of a lot more than luck. Max Azzarello. And that's how it ends. And there are 328 comments, and commenting has been turned off by this post. So I don't know who decided to turn off the comments since the guy's dead, but maybe they just have a certain limit of how many comments they can get on Substack. I don't know. All right. Well, I got through the whole thing, and now let me see the rest of what y'all wrote to me. Okay. Stephen Lee, who asked me if I skipped over his comment. I told him I hadn't seen his comment. And now he's unfortunately retracted his comments. That agnostic, I don't see it either. Judas, Simpsons should have been canceled 15 years ago. Agreed. 15 years ago sounds about right. Stephen Lee, okay, so here he says, real money. Devout, do you see my repeated comment? No. And these goings down says, liquid death ain't shit. Okay. I have not tried it. I have no inclination to try it. It's spring water, that's it. So not hardcore enough for you in these goings down, huh? What is Andy's favorite energy drink? Dr. Pepper. I don't do energy drinks. I never have. I've never had to stay up. I could see if I absolutely had to drive through the night, and I was gonna fall asleep at the wheel. I was sure I would fall asleep at the wheel unless I pounded some of those energy drinks, and it was essential for me to drive through the night. Then I could see doing it. Otherwise, there's no appeal to me. I was there. Agreed. Oh, talking about the 80s and 90s, right? And these goings down, Mussolini wouldn't have done any of this nonsense. Clown, rainbow, insanity. Agreed. But to be fair, neither would Stalin. Neither did Stalin. Did a lot of other things, but he didn't do that. Judas. I hate when people use the word pivot in political contexts, like saying, let's unpack this. Yes, that's exactly what I said in my video from the other day.
Stephen Lee, Two Wings of the Same Bird, Red and Blue. Yep. Agreed. Doug Garrison. Andy, are there any decent contemporary authors? There probably are, but I don't know them. I don't know, except for myself. I can tell you that I'm a decent contemporary author. And, probably some of the other things that are published by my publisher. But that sounds self-interested for me to say that. So I can't think of anybody writing today who really, I'm not big on contemporary stuff. I tend to like older stuff. But there are probably some good writers out there that I just don't know about. Doug goes on, I just haven't read any newer authors at all, mostly just poetry like David Rivard and Joshua Dover. Right. Joshua Clover, sorry, is an amazing poet. Okay. Haven't heard of him, but thanks for letting me know. And these goings down, Andy, are you familiar with Varg? Yes, I know about Varg. um, are you asking me if I'm familiar with Varg? Did I say something that would have brought Varg to mind? I know he's like a racist. I'm not using that word pejoratively. I'm just using it descriptively. He's a racist pagan from some Scandinavia, right? And he hates Christianity. In these goings down, Do the Right Thing is a particularly evil movie. Kind of, I would just say pretentious. I don't know. I don't remember it being evil. I remember it just sort of like, uh, it just seemed like it was trying to be like, uh, trying to create a sensation. I remember some of the acting was good, but it's got. I think Spike Lee is like. I think he's got a lot of. I'm not crazy about him as a director. I think there's a lot of just convoluted stuff, a lot of gratuitous stuff. Um, so, these goings down. Life in Hell used to be in the Village Voice. Interesting. The Village Voice literally took us over. Yeah, in some ways, that's true. Andy, what did you think of the movie? Doug Garrison, what did you think of the movie Parallax View? Seems like a revelation of the method. Maybe, uh, or maybe that. I mean, I wouldn't exclude the notion that there are some artists out there, some filmmakers or whatever, who actually who are actually, who actually want to bring us the truth. Like I thought that way about season 1 of True Detective. Um, Nick Pizzarello. That was like touching on a lot of conspiracy stuff, and I mean, I guess all the first 3 seasons of that show, but season 1 was the one where it was the strongest of the 3. So maybe it was a revelation of the method, or maybe it's a filmmaker actually trying to get the truth out. In the 70s, when that movie was made, it was easier, I think, to make movies like that challenged the establishment um, than it is today. Devout agnostic, seeing this kind of thing more and more these days. I don't know what you mean by this kind of thing, but if you mean what the kind of stuff that we just read about, yeah, definitely. Uh, Andy, is multiverse plots in fiction interesting? Um, I don't think endless multiverses are interesting at all. I don't like the whole like there's just an infinite number of alternate worlds. For some reason that just bores me. Like if there were a finite number, like 2, there were two, and I kind of this kind of is something I myself write about in my book Heart Killer. Um, there's a there are a series of events that happen that start history going down a different track. So there's two separate uh, realities, but not an infinite number. I think the infinite number is just like that just means anything is possible, and I don't think anything is possible. I don't think illogic becomes logic in a parallel universe. Um, Devout agnostic self-immolation is a dramatic development, though, to be sure. You know what? Devout agnostic, it makes me think of Dominique Venner. And I think it was 2013. And I wrote about it at the time, and then I've recently republished my article about Dominique Venner and his. He shot himself in the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris um, as an act of protest. Um, this reminds me of that. These goings down caught the stream randomly. Thanks, YouTube. Okay, glad you found it. Um, Halper says opinion on the flat Earth theory. Heard it's making a comeback. I'm laughing at this just because, like, I think I've said, like, I was just talking actually with devout agnostic about flat Earth the other day. I don't have an opinion about it. I mean, I think it's strange. I don't discount it, but I think it's strange that it just started up in 2015 or so. And before that, flat Earth was just like an absurdity and nobody took it seriously. And then suddenly in 2015, it started to be this thing on the internet that people took seriously and uh, and seriously argued for. Um, but as far as whether it's real or not, I mean, it would mean that everybody who's been to space is lying. That could be. Everybody who's been up and said they've seen the Earth, and orbited the Earth and all that. They're lying. That could be true. Um, I've never seen the Earth from space, so I don't know for sure. But it's not an issue that I mean, there are so many theories and stuff out there right now, and some things you just have to leave them alone. And that's kind of the point of Morgoth's uh, uh, video on this subject. How I learned to stop worrying and love the normie is that eventually there's some things that you just aren't going to know the answer to, and you have a limited amount of time in your life. You want to make it count, and you can't just keep spinning your mind over. Like, I stick to things that really do seem uh, not only plausible uh, but momentous. If flat Earth is true, then I guess that's moment. I don't know how that really changes anything. I know the flat Earth people say they try to tell us that we're just on a ball drifting through space, in order to it's a psyop, to get us to be materialists and stuff. But I don't know why. To me, I don't know why. If the Earth, the shape of the Earth, I don't think it makes any difference. I don't think it changes uh, the reality of God and the reality of reality, the reality of the world. Um, you know, any more than like people who believe in who are young Earth creationists, who believe the world was created in 7 days, 6,000 years ago, just like literally, like they take Genesis chapters 1 and 2 literally. Well, I don't discount that idea, but I don't think that if the Earth, whether the Earth was created in 7 days or whether it was created over the course of billions of years, it was still created, and to be created means there is a creator. So, it's like that for me. Um, but something like 9/11, the truth about 9/11, the truth about JFK, the truth about other things, the truth about 2020, those are things that are momentous, and that, if what they're telling us is a lie, then that has immediate implications. Um, so that's my take on that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off. I sort of went on a bit longer than I thought I would. This is getting a little long here, but y'all have some interesting questions. Um, these goings down. I did a review of The Rule of Wrath. Hopefully you dig it. Okay, but so where is your review on Amazon? I look forward to, or is it on your channel? Wherever it is, I'll find it, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm glad you liked it. And other people out there who don't know, The Rule of Wrath is my latest published novel. So look it up, and if it looks interesting, then purchase it. Stephen Lee, cryptocurrency is a diversionary tactic to keep money out of gold and silver constitutional money. Okay. Um, it seems like a lot of a lot of people who believe in crypto are more inclined to believe in the gold standard and stuff. Um, that's been my impression. Like like it's an alternative to the fractional banking or whatever. But I've also seen that the opinion that you give here. I've also seen people argue that. AD 0002, what line of work are you in? I am a writer. That's my life's work. Um, Judas, I stopped watching cable TV after I graduated high school in 2012, but my sister's spouse lets me use his streaming services sometimes to tune into what is happening to the Springfield clan. Okay, about about the Simpsons. Scott Terry, is eating junk food a form of self-immolation? If so, no, I'm kidding. I don't eat junk food that much anymore. Occasionally I do, and if it's self-immolation, then you know what a way to go. Chomping down some potato chips. Yeah. These goings down. James LaFond is a fan of Andy. Yeah, I know. Thanks for letting me know, but I'm aware that James LaFond has written some nice things about me, and I appreciate it. I don't really know him. I've never met him, but yeah, he had me as a character in some book that he wrote where it was supposed to be like where he had me as a pizza delivery man, as sort of a hapless pizza delivery man. Where I was like, oh well, I thought I was going to be a hero or something, but I'm just sort of this hapless character. I wasn't offended or anything. It was just not what I was expecting. But I do appreciate Mr. LaFon's kind words about me. Like he likes old books and young women. Scott Terry, I just read a novel by Karen McQuestion. It wasn't terrible, sort of a liberal Catwoman. Never heard of Karen McQuestion. Never heard of her. Scott Terry, how are you going to buy something from someone via dark web flea market websites using gold? Good point. Good point. I've never been on the dark web myself, so because I'm a technological dummy. I'd probably go if I could. I mean, I'd be curious, but I also don't wouldn't want to, like, if there was actual something where somebody actually was where some bad stuff was actually happening to people, I wouldn't want to watch that. I don't like to. I mean, I'm curious about dark corners of the internet, but I don't, like faces of death videos and stuff like that. I don't like to watch to see actual things happen to people. And I'm squeamish about that. Do the Right Thing was anti-white, or in the zooming down. Do the Right Thing was anti-white, anti-Italian, also very NYU student filmish. Yeah, sort of. I mean, I sort of thought that. Well, what's his name? Sal, was that his name? I sort of thought Sal was a lovable guy. Maybe the movie wanted, maybe Spike Lee wanted us to hate him, but I thought he was very sympathetic. That's what I'm remembering. I know he had one son who was like a vicious racist, another son who was like a nice, was like that character who's also in uh, that Jim Jarmusch movie that I love from the 80s. Um, uh, but anyway, there was a dumb guy, a dumb son, and like a smarter son who hated black people, but Sal seemed like a nice, lovable guy. And if he didn't want to put up pictures of black people in his restaurant, it was his restaurant. So, I mean, that was how I always saw it. Judas, Dragon Ball Z incorporates ideas of alternative realities, but they put time travel in it too. Oh, interesting. Scott Terry. Well, Dragon Ball, the original series, incorporated a lot of cross references to other cartoon universes. Interesting too. Dragon Ball Z is something I have no knowledge of. I'm old, guys. I'm a man in his 50s. Um, Judas, the earth is round according to the Holy Zohar. Okay. Devout agnostic, this kind of thing was in reference to the longer comment. Directly above it might have gotten lost. Okay. Well, I got you now. Lenny, hey Andy, how are you? I'm I'm good, Lenny. How's Squiggy? And these goings down. Heart Killer was epic. I think you self-published that. Not with CC. No. Um. Uh. I actually published it. It was published at first. It was not published through through Countercurrents. It was published through another publisher, and then it got dropped by them, and then it got picked up um, by my current publisher, by Matt Forney's uh, site, publication site, um, Terror House Press, and that's who currently publishes it. Lenny, Andy, are you excited about any summer films or any films coming out? Mad Max Furiosa. Yes, another girl boss movie. Just what the doctor ordered. I was just thinking there aren't enough movies out there about totally kick-ass girl bosses who just show the men a thing or two. Who are just more who dominate and just destroy all the men, and just kick ass and show the supremacy of women. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna see not planning to see Mad Max Furiosa. Um, I can't think of other movies. I actually I like I mean I might get flack for this, but I've said it before. I'm an M. Night Shyamalan fan. I'm looking forward to his new movie. And there are probably some other movies that are going to be good, but I just can't think of them right now. Scott Terry, for question for Andy: are all women married to the state and for the establishment first, and then their particular husband second, or is that too cynical? Gosh, I don't know. I don't think all women are married to the state first. But what do I know? What do I know about women? Um, I think I mean, there are women who do homesteading. Uh, there are legit women. There are a lot of women who are like, as far as like conspiracy theories go, like pedogate.
you look at pedogate stuff, like the thing that I wrote, Meta Pizzagate, my book on that subject. Um, it a lot, like when I've seen reviews, it's the book that I've written that's most likely to have women, uh, giving it a good review or giving it 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads. Um, so I give women credit, like to for that. That's like it. Conspiracy theories are mostly a male thing, but I think when it comes to stuff, like children getting uh, um, having bad stuff happen to them, that interestingly brings a lot of women into it, because I think women can relate, or can it's a matter of concern for not for all women. I'm not depicting some rose-colored uh, you know uh, image of femininity, but I do think that there of women out there who are properly nurturing and motherly. Um, you know, the idea of bad stuff happening to kids, really hits them hard. They want to do something about it. And I say, good on them. But I don't know, Scott. Can't answer that. And these goings down, is an agnostic closer to an atheist or a believer? Um, I think an agnostic, it depends on the agnostic. Like all things, it's like dependent on the context. There are a lot of agnostics who are just anti-religion, but don't want to say they don't believe in anything. But they're the types who might as well be atheists. But most agnostics, I think, just don't want to commit, or just are like, think that established religion uh, is or what no, institutional religion is bad, but who might call themselves spiritual but not religious or something like that. So I think it depends. Stephen Lee. I'm not using the dark web to buy anything, but I would use silver to trade and gold to save. Okay. Scott. Just noting there are limitations to metals. Oh boy. A debate. A debate about something that I know nothing about and have minimal interest in. I'm not saying it's not important. But anyway. Healthy debate. These goings down, you don't see ships falling off the edge of the flat earth. I think it's meant to be a metaphor, but people take it literally. Okay. But that's because, they've got it worked out. That's because of the ice wall. It's because uh, they don't let us go past a certain point, and then there's the ice wall. So it's not that there's a place where you would fall off the end of the earth. I think in their system, it's like there's a dome. We're living under a dome, a big, 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 big dome. But I don't know. Stephen Lee, 500 years of monetary history is not limiting. Also gives you something. Okay. Interesting. Lenny. Andy, would you like to meet Andrew Tate for a chat about the Matrix or fake news in general? Yeah, sure. Can you make it happen? Or are you just asking a hypothetical question? Sure. Sure, of course. I would like to meet anyone. Well, not anyone, but yeah. Of course, sure. I'd be pleased as punch to meet AT. Um, yeah, on the channel. I would love to do it on the channel or wherever. Yeah, Scott Carey. I hate the Boss Babe action flicks. Yep, I think most people are tired of that. I don't know why they keep shoveling that shit at us. That's one of the things where they're obviously pushing an agenda, obviously not responding to what the public wants.
Um, they're pushing female empowerment. We've all had our fill of it. We know all that stuff by now, and it's old. It's not 2015. It's 2024. It's old. We've seen it. We've seen that iteration. You know, maybe hundreds of times now. It's time to give it a rest, but they won't. Hauper. Country song. Johnny says the world ain't round. Drops a sharp at the edge of town. Lucy, you know the world must be flat. Because when people leave town, they never come back. I actually had that album. What was his name? I can't remember his name right now. Yeah, Small Town Saturday Night. It's a small town Saturday night. Yep. It's a flat Earth song. Scott Terry, oh yeah, M. Night has a new one coming out, The Trap. Yep, looks interesting. Gonna Howl at the Moon. It's a small town. Okay, yeah, you know the song too. Total Tech, You Are Blue. Yeah, I'm in a room where the light is strange. So yeah, I am blue. But I think it sort of changes color. I don't know if the bulb is gonna burn out. Yeah, it goes from blue to red. Yeah, it's like I'm representing all of America. Both the red and the blue. Thanks for that answer. You're welcome. Judas, it is not a lie that every modern girl loves to be bi. It is not a lie that every modern girl loves to be bi. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I can't claim to know. Like I don't know about that. Maybe I'm just old and out of touch. But I sort of doubt that. Um, I would say that modern girls or modern women would be much more likely to be open to that. But I wouldn't say that they all are, or even most. But who knows? Again, what do I know about that subject? Halper, I remember James LaFawn calling you a really good writer on a podcast. Yeah, he did. And he's written lots of nice things about me, too. Scott Terry, re-agnostics Christian writer George MacDonald said a man hasn't truly begun to be a Christian until he's begun having honest doubts about the faith. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I didn't know that he said that, but I agree. Your faith deepens through doubt because that makes you confront other things, and then that makes you see other things in the faith that you wouldn't have seen before. Um, okay. These Goings Down, M. Night is an excellent filmmaker, even his lesser work is always interesting. I agree. I know I'm in the minority in having that opinion because a lot of people just think he's a hack. But I'm a fan. Uh, Steven, do you like H.L. Mencken? I haven't, I don't know, I really don't know him that well as a writer. I know that he was a wit. I know that he was uh, a um, like a cynic, like a sort of um, uh, what's the word? I can never think of words. I have a pretty good vocabulary, but I always freeze up when I try to reach for a word. But um, like not an admirer of mankind, like somebody who thinks that mankind is full has a lot of is full of folly. I think he is also very anti-religious, but I know he's liked by a lot of people who are conservative. Uh, so yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion about him. I don't really know him that well. Scott Terry, I think I know all of you love Joker, but I didn't really get it. Wonder if the sequel will be as profound. It's okay that you didn't get it, Scott. Um, and I don't think all of us loved it, but I loved it. But it had its critics too. But it was something I loved, and it was something I felt strongly about. And so yeah, I was sort of an ardent defender of it. And if you were against it, then I sort of took it personally because it was a movie that I felt very personal towards. Art can have that effect on you. I'm sure you know that, Scott, as a avid reader and consumer of art. If you like something, if it resonates with you, then especially when it like a movie, like Joker was this incredible pop culture moment. It was a movie that got so much hype and also so much controversy. Like people were saying, "Oh, this was an incel movie." Incels are going to see this movie and they're going to start shooting everybody, and like government. Uh, uh, I think like some branch of the Navy got involved, like warning people about. And it was, and then it released, and then it was like huge. It became the most like, and it was made on a relative shoestring budget, and it became this movie that people saw over and over and over again, and made over $1 billion, like I think the highest grossing R-rated movie ever made. Um, I don't know. I don't know what the sequel will be like, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Um, I actually like Lady Gaga as a performer. I know she's really got some problems and maybe is wrapped up in the Illuminati and stuff, but as a performer, I admit, kind of liked her. Um, he was cynical, but I love his works. Mencken, right? He said faith can be defined as the illogical belief of the improbable. That's a you know that's a great turn of phrase there. That's a great um, what's the word? Not epithet. I can't think of words right. Gosh, it's a great saying. I'll just say that. Scott Terry. When I agree with Mencken, it's usually meh, I guess. When I disagree with him, it's I'll fight you in a duel, sir. All right. Uh, the Navy got involved. Well, it was like there was some branch of the armed forces said something. Said we should be on alert. You know, something that added to all of like just the hysteria that a lot of people were having about that movie. I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you remember. Maybe you do, but I don't know if you remember just how controversial the movie was, and people were hating on the director because he's the same director who made The Hangover and just a lot of these raucous comedies, old school. And he said he got out of comedy because he was tired of people on Twitter getting offended, and and like comedy was like you couldn't make comedy anymore because everybody's going to get offended, and a lot of the woke types, really uh, really hated that. So he was courting controversy from the start. Stephen Lee, he also said when he smelled flowers, he looked around for the coffin. It's funny. Uh, Bro, and these goes down, bro. These changing colors are psychedelic. Nice touch. Thanks. It's totally accidental, but I'll claim it as my aesthetic. He's in Vegas mode. Scott Terry, there's a meme in certain Pentecostal YouTubers that say Lady Gaga is literally demon possessed. Yeah, I know. I've heard that. Um, yeah, maybe it's true. But again, as a performer, I think she's just very talented as both as a musician, both and as an actress. I think I enjoy her. Uh, and you got that lava lamp. It's the Westboro parody of Poker Face was on point. The Westboro Baptist Church, they did a parody of Poker Face. Are you serious? How could I have missed that? Scott Terry, oh man, I really love the Hangover franchise, but apparently most people didn't like it. No, well, the first movie, the first Hangover movie was hugely successful. I think they all did well, but I think only the first one was, I think it was one of those deals where everybody thought the original one was good, and then the ones that came after that were just like money grabs. That was sort of the. But I would say nothing that the director did that whose name I can't remember right now, even though it's some really simple name. Nothing that he did before prepared me for Joker. Like I didn't think he had that in him, and all credit to him for that. Scott Terry, Zach Galifianakis grew up near me in North Carolina. Really? Okay, interesting. You seem to have a lot of brushes with celebrities, Scott. That's interesting. Um, Agnostic. Everybody knows the devil has the best tunes. He was the angel of music. I haven't heard that. I've heard he was the brightest angel or the most, um, the most powerful angel, the most beautiful angel. I hadn't heard that he's the angel of music. There is that song, "Devil Went Down to Georgia," talking about country, great country songs. Uh, uh, yeah, where he has the fiddle playing contest with Johnny. Uh, so the devil does his little fiddle solo, and then Johnny does his fiddle solo, and and it's determined that Johnny wins, and he gets to keep he gets to keep the devil's golden fiddle. It's a pretty epic song. You should listen to it if you haven't. These goings down. Last geek question: are you a fan of the Wicker Man? I think Ed Woodward's character becomes a martyr in the end and fulfills the promise of his Christian faith and is not defeated by Christopher Lee. Okay, I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at your question. I actually haven't seen the original. I'm laughing that because I actually haven't seen the original, but I have seen the Nicolas Cage remake, which everyone agrees is terrible. So I think that's funny. Um, Something has always gotten in the way of me seeing that movie. Um, like I don't know, like I know how it ends. I think it would be upsetting for me to watch. Um, but your take on it is interesting. Todd Phillips, yes, Lenny, you're right. Todd Phillips is the name of the director of Joker and The Hangover. Uh, Scott Terry, I had an alt-right hangover. I got drunk and passed out, and I'm pretty sure Matt Parrott threw a swastika flag over me and took a pic of. That's great. I love it. Judas says, Andy, do you have any desire to visit Israel? Yeah, yeah, I'd love to. Um, there's lots of places I'd like to visit, though. But I think it would be fascinating. I wouldn't want to go to Gaza right now, but sure, yeah, absolutely. First Hangover had funny moments. Yeah, it's pretty. I thought it was pretty funny. I don't think it was. I don't think it was great, but I thought it was good. Scott Terry, yeah, I've only seen the Nick Cage remake. Okay, you and me both. Stephen Lee, do you think Trump is a lock? We seem to bounce left to right and never get centered. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't think elections are legitimate. So I definitely think uh, that whoever wins, uh, it's probably not going to be a measure of anything. It's probably not going to determine anything significant. So I'm still sort of dreading the election, but I'm hoping it'll just pass without much incident. Judas. Retard. Scott Terry. Nick Cage is making interesting movies with his career. Moves with his career. He is. I was just thinking about this the other day. Nick Cage. oh, I remember the beginning of Nick Cage's career, like Valley Girl. I think that was the first movie he was in, like 1980 or so. Um, and for a while, he was an actual prestige actor, like a well-regarded actor. He could do comedy. He could do romance. He could be a romantic lead. He could be an action hero. And it seemed like like in the 90s, he was just pretty well regarded. At some point, Nick Cage just became this parody of himself, and suddenly everybody was making fun of him. And then he sort of at some point agreed to be the butt of the joke. Um, and he was able to turn it around, and now he's able to do movies, where he's like 60 or so. He's able to do part to play parts, to play roles that aren't just about like Nick Cage, being campy, or Nick Cage making fun of his own persona. Interesting career trajectory for sure. Um, his depiction of Dracula and Renfield was awesome. I didn't see that. Saw the preview. Devout agnostic. Ezekiel in Revelation described his body being composed of timbrels, pipes, and harps. Interesting. Interesting. You know your Bible better than me, but then I'm Catholic, so of course I don't know it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Scott Terry, he's got some serious horror coming up. They're saying Nick Cage's Long Leg is one of the most horrifying movies. I've seen the preview for it. I didn't know Nick Cage was in that. Um, Crazy Critter says, I keep trying to make a comment, but it keeps getting censored. Sorry about that. Sorry that's happened. That's happened. Stephen Lee says, Twain said if voting actually worked as a true will of the people, it would have been outlawed. Right. Yep. That's a very Mencken-esque type of quote, but then Twain's another Mencken-esque sort of character. Misanthrope. Yeah, he's a misanthrope. That was the word I was trying to think of a few minutes ago. And these goings down, are you going to do a vid on that anti-cinnamon bill? You're avoiding the. I get what you're referring to. Maybe. Maybe. Uh, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to. In some ways, I'm trying to stay out of hot button stories, but some of them are interesting to me. Like this. This guy was interesting to me, so that's why I did a whole live cast. This writer who self-immolated. Um, Lanny, Nicolas Cage was massive in the 90s. 2007 horror thriller Knowing isn't bad. Yeah, I remember that. And he was, yeah, yeah. Uh, I remember Knowing. And he was in that movie about those that series of movies about, finding the U.S. Constitution, or the Declaration of Independence in weird places. And those were huge. I don't remember what they were titled, but those were in the early aughts. So in a way, he was sort of critic proof. But it seems like, but in the 90s, he was sort of a prestige actor. He was like, it was weird how he went from being this, oh yeah, he's this good, he's a serious actor. People take him seriously, to a short time later, oh, he's crazy, he's a joke, he's over the top all the time. Uh, he's a terrible actor, but we can enjoy him in a campy way. It was strange how things took that turn. Okay, here Crazy Critter says, my question is, what do you think of far-right femboys, guys that make themselves feminine and get into relationships with other men like that, but are very far right? Like, I think 1933. It's a phenomenon you see online among young men. I know it's what people say about Nick Fuentes. I don't know whether that's true, whether it's true, whether the rumors about him are true, and it's not something I've looked into, but I know that there are people out there on the right, who do. I don't know if, like, the ones I'm thinking of are older guys, not young femboys, uh, but who are still right wing, who are like Nazi, like gay Nazis. Now, gay Nazis, like the original Nazi movement, the original National Socialists, um, like a goodly segment, I think, of the SA. The leader of the SA, um, was a homosexual. Uh, Shoot, what was his name? Um, Somebody knows his name, I'm sure. But he was one of the ones purged in the 34, the Night of the Long Knives. Ernst Röhm. I mean, he was a heavy hitter, and Hitler knew what he was, and didn't care. Hitler was kind of liberal, at least in the early days. When it came to homosexuality, he didn't really care what people did in their private lives. He was pretty liberal in that regard, and that blows people's minds, but it's true to hear. Um, okay, Lenny says, like Depp, wasn't Cage a lot of yeah. Johnny Depp has a similar career trajectory, very similar. Yeah, wasn't Cage in a lot of weird offbeat films in the early '90s before leaving Las Vegas in the massive action vehicles, The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off? Yeah, and just like Johnny Depp was once like an actor people liked, and they thought he was funny, and they thought he was talented, and then at some point he also became this actor that people made fun of, and just thought enjoyed him in a campy way. And then of course he got into all of his trouble. Cage has avoided that, and then he got rehabilitated, but uh, after his trial, or after the trial of his ex-wife. Um, Crazy Critter, they're usually misogynistic. Okay, I don't know. Like I hate to ask you to name people for me, but I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't have examples of like who you're talking about. Most gay men, there's no reason for them to be misogynistic because they don't see women. Like I've said, this is a point that I've made before. Um, I think gay men are less likely to be misogynistic because they don't have to deal with women when they're at their worst. It's straight men who are in relationships with crazy women who do who destroy their lives. They're the ones who become misogynistic. Um, unless you're gay because your mom was mean to you or abusive to you. I guess I could see cases like that. If you're going to say homosexuality can be environmentally or comes about environmentally, and I don't really have an opinion about the origins of where it comes from, where the inclination comes from, or anything like that. Lenny, Wind Talkers in 2002 was possibly the Cage's misfire war movie. Yeah, that was definitely a bust. That had the Navajo played a role. Like,
Yeah, I remember that. National Treasure. Yeah, that's the name of it. Thanks, Lenny. Thanks, Scott. National Treasure. Those were good movies. I never saw them. Scott says he did a recent movie where he played himself. Yes, I heard about it. I wasn't interested in enough to see it. The unbearable weight of massive talent, something like that. And it directly does what Andy said, just embracing that joke and turning it around. Yeah. Um, and props him for that, for not taking himself seriously for. I think at some point William Shatner Oh, at some point Shatner became aware that he was being mocked for his acting, or for being this sort of this for being campy or whatever. And at some point he embraced it, and sort of similar thing to Johnny Depp. Shatner, by the way, he's like almost 100 years old. And he's still around. Like, you might like him or dislike him, but he's a legit force of nature. That man. Um, these goings down. I'm hoping to be highly entertained by this election season. That's the most important goal. Sure, if you can watch it and be entertained, then all power to you. Scott Terry, River Phoenix died right outside Johnny Depp's music club in the arms of Joaquin. Yeah, remember that. I remember that. Yeah, most people probably don't know who River Phoenix even is. Most people watching this probably don't know who River Phoenix is. But he was a hot young actor in the 80s, like this heartthrob, teen actor. He was in Stand By Me, along with Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Um, yeah. Stephen Lee, isn't Robert Kennedy running as a third party candidate with the female vice president? I think so, but I don't know. I haven't followed it that closely. Um, Lenny Depp's career sort of went Disney with the Four Pirates films. Arguably, Depp is semi-canceled and somewhat tainted. Yeah, he's. I don't know. Is he still canceled even after he was rehabilitated? It seems like if he's canceled, it's like it's not the public like the public. I think they almost all took his side with the Amber Heard trial. Um, but he hasn't been in anything lately. Is it because he's just staying out of Hollywood, or is it because they won't hire him? I don't know. Lenny says Robert Kennedy is married to Larry David's TV wife Cheryl Hines. Yeah, I know. That's weird, isn't it? That's interesting. Um, yeah. Scott Terry, the hypermasculine man equals homosexual meme is a tired Hollywood trope. Yeah, like who's secretly homosexual. Yeah, but there are like there have been in history actual homosexuals who have acted manly. Like it hasn't like so yeah, it is a tired Hollywood trope. Like the manly man who's a repressed homosexual is a Hollywood trope. Definitely. Uh, in these goings down, as you know, the Long Legs director's father was Anthony Perkins' son. His mom died on 9/11. Wow. No, I didn't know any of that. No. Fascinating. Right. Um, Halper TISM had a song called I'm on the Drug That Killed River Phoenix, only for those with a dark sense of humor. Uh, I can appreciate the dark sense of humor there, but I don't know. I've never heard of that
that band unless it stands for something that I do know. Scott Terry. Most people don't know Young Indiana Jones. Yeah. Believe it or not. Um, Surprised that you know it, Scott, although I guess you're like probably around 40, I'm guessing. But for me, it was part of my childhood. I remember it. You probably don't remember it. Probably just heard about it. Scott Terry, I can't live in this country. Yeah, I know the feeling. Things going down Ernst Rome. You're right. I think I eventually, fished that out of my head. That name, Scott Terry. I'd never heard of Perkins until all the buzz about long legs. Lenny, well, Shadow canceled. He was kicked off the Fantastic Beasts franchise, replaced by Mads Mikkelsen. Oh yeah, that's right. But didn't that happen before the trial? Uh, yeah. I think after the trial, it seems like he should be uncanceled, but unless people, still take. Does anybody still take Amber Heard seriously? I mean, she's so hated now. People just think she's a liar and a crazy. Like it seems like Amber Heard is canceled. Like they took her out of the Aquaman sequel, which of course I didn't see. Wasn't interested in seeing, but I remember like they basically cut her out of that. Um, Scott Terry, there's a new Pirates movie coming out because the world needs a geriatric Jack Sparrow. Really? Okay, is he going back to playing Jack Sparrow? Hmm. Lenny, Anthony Perkins was sleeping with men and women, I presume. I thought he was just gay, but okay. Maybe he was bisexual. Was he annoyed with being typecast as just Norman Bates? The sequels aren't bad, particularly Psycho 2. Yeah, the Tarantino appreciates. I was about to say that. I saw where Tarantino, sort of like took this iconoclastic view of Psycho, was saying, it's not as good as everybody thinks it is, but Psycho 2 is actually good. Um, Scott, in These Goings Down, Psycho 2 was an excellent sequel. Halper was Psycho Proto Incel Core. That's interesting. Um, I can sort of see that. Um, yeah, well, although, young Anthony Perkins, I think he was kind of attractive, no homo. But, he was just, his character was just weird. He just was not, uh, he was socially awkward. Uh, and, he was from this messed up, he had this messed up family situation. Um, but he wasn't ugly. Like, but yeah, he was kind of a proto incel. You're right. He was a guy lived all alone, um, at this weird motel. Um, yeah, I can see that. Uh, Stephen Lee Alfred Hitchcock was a movie master. Yes, he was. No argument here. Scott Terry, I thought American Psycho with Christian Bale was supposed to be related to Hitchcock's Psycho. No, no, no relation. I don't know if you're making a joke or not, but there's no relation there. These goings down, Joaquin looks nothing like River. Must have been half bros. That's true. They don't look anything alike. I hadn't really thought about that, but you're right. They don't look anything alike at all. And they grew up in like a weird cult, this Children of God, uh, like this very unsavory cult. And then his parents got out of it, and they went right to Hollywood. Another unsavory cult. There's more going on with the whole Phoenix family than meets the eye. I'm convinced. Um, Stephen Lee, have a good night, all. Good night to you. This has gone on a lot longer than I thought it would, but that's just because a lot of y'all have interesting comments. Lenny, Amber Heard sent to the Phantom Zone with Sean Young and other difficult divas. Yeah, well, Sean Young, yeah, she was reputedly kind of nuts. Um, yeah, and a diva. Andy, did you hear about the Ed Piskor incident? No, I don't. I don't know. Don't know what that is, but I'll look it up. Um, unless you want to tell me in the next couple of minutes what it is. And it might be maybe I know about it and I just don't remember the name. Uh, it's possible. Lenny, Scott Terry. Yes, Scott Terry, can you notice? Jake Gyllenhaal's Lou Bloom and Nightcrawler definitely has Norman Bates vibes too. Oh, I never thought of that. That's interesting. it's fascinating how certain actors have channeled the incel thing. Jake Gyllenhaal, but especially, uh, you know who I mean. You know who I mean? The Drive guy, Ken. Like he's got, he's a good-looking guy who pulls, you know, hot chicks, but he's still, loved by incels. Um, Scott says, yeah, Hollywood literally killed River. There's true evil out there. Yeah, Joaquin's 911 call on YouTube is heartbreaking. I'm sure that it is. I'm sure that it is. He was his younger brother, wasn't he? Um, and it happened in Depp's bar. That's sort of, I mean, I think Depp is probably, even though, he got uh, slandered by Amber Heard, I think there's probably unsavory things about Johnny Depp too. Um, Devout agnostic. Son Young is super base now for a Hollywood type anyway. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me somehow. Like that in her late middle age that she would come out as like a super based. That doesn't surprise me. I don't know why, but it just doesn't surprise me at all. Lenny, psychopathy portrayed on film can be a fascinating study. Ralph Fiennes, yeah. Schindler's List, great performance. Agreed. And that was, boy, he was like, again, no homo, but he was like a Calvin Klein model. I mean, he was like the Aryan Superman. He was the Ubermensch, uh, you know, like personified, like you know, blonde haired, blue eyed, uh, but yeah, psychotic. Um, Scott Terry Gyllenhaal has never stopped being that psycho sociopath character. Yeah, he seems to have played it a lot. Of course, I never saw. I never saw um, his gay cowboy movie. Uh, but I don't know if he was a nicer guy in that movie. But he seems to. It does seem to come easily to him. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging around and asking good questions and for having a good conversation. And I'm glad I did this tonight. I'm glad I decided to go live with this. Ryan Gosling, there you go. Ryan Gosling. And I would know that. The thing is, like, these names just these words and names just slip from my mind, and I become this fumbling, inarticulate mess. You know, when I'm pointing the camera phone at myself. Okay, a couple more questions. Great chat tonight. Thank you. Yeah. Lenny, Andy, did you see Philip Seymour Hoffman's last film, Most Wanted Man? I don't remember if I saw that or not.
I was a fan of Philip Seymour Hoffman, though. I thought he was really good. I thought he was a great character actor. Cool chatting, bro. Thanks. Great to catch up. I mean, Miss Behind. Thanks, Handy. Yeah, thanks all of you. Talk to y'all soon. Uh, oh, you look like the guy, like Gerard Butler. Good for you, Scott. Good for you. Congratulations. Okay. Bye, y'all.